We have tonight a special guest, Vice President of Europe and Russia at the U.S. Institute of Peace, U.S. Ex-Ambassador to Ukraine, 2006-2009. I give you Mr. William B. Taylor, Your Excellency. Thanks for joining.
Henry, thank you very much for having me.
First question. So, do you believe Donald Trump is acting in good faith and will for the United States and Ukraine and whatsoever, and he has a plan, right?
Yes, I think the United States acts in good faith, and I think this administration, and I think President Trump is genuinely trying to end this war. He said that over and over. I believe him that he really wants to end this war. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. That is, if it's a good ending, if it's a positive outcome for Ukraine, if Ukraine emerges from this negotiation, from this process as a prosperous, democratic, independent European nation that is secure, then that will be a good thing. And I think that's what this administration is after.
Right. Well, Donald Trump just recently signed an executive order, that's on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, that instructs the U.S. Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, right, to dismantle the Department of Education. Well, clearly maybe attempting to circumvent the need to obtain congressional approval to formally close the federal department. What is going on, sir? I mean, it's hard to see from here, from Kyiv, Ukraine, as President Trump's ceasefire that he recently negotiated with dictator Putin just doesn't work yet, and we are under constant shelling. So maybe it's the smoke that gets in my eyes. And I mean, could you talk us through the whole thing? What's going on with that?
There's a lot of smoke in the air.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just your eyes.
Yeah.
It's not just your eyes. No, there's a lot of smoke. There are a lot of things going on here in Washington. One is a serious attempt to reduce the size of the U.S. government. And that attempt is taking place across this city. I'm here in Washington, and across all the agencies are all looking at reductions in their force. So that's going on, and it affects small agencies and big agencies.
Okay. But
the other thing that's going on that we start out with is, I think, a real attempt to end the war that Russia has been inflicting on Ukraine for the last over 3 years. And that can be, as I say, that can be a good thing if it ends up positive for Ukraine.
I mean, if I say that Putin does not want peace in Ukraine, would you agree with me?
I would agree. We're pretty sure what Putin wants. He's said it over and over, and he's acted on this, and that is he wants to dominate Ukraine. He wants to absorb Ukraine. He wants to eliminate Ukraine. So, yeah, I don't think he wants peace until he has done that. Nonetheless, I think President Trump and the Europeans and a strong Ukraine have the ability to push President Putin towards a ceasefire, and then later towards a settlement of this. But it needs to be a strong leadership by the United States and strong efforts by Europeans, and of course the continued strong resistance by Ukraine.
When you say strong leadership, you're saying that is what the United States have now, right?
The United States is leading this peace effort, this ceasefire effort. I think that's true. And this is a more active attempt by this administration, the Trump administration, than the previous administration. To give President Biden credit, he organized a coalition of Western nations to support Ukraine for 3 years. And he provided a lot of weapons. And some people will say he didn't provide enough or not fast enough. But nonetheless, President Biden was supporting Ukraine very strongly. However, he didn't intervene to try to end the war. President Trump is trying to intervene and end the war, and he's working both with the Ukrainians and with the Russians to try to get that outcome.
Right, but contributing to that. Okay, but scrapping SAC Europe, senior light commander position in particular, how far away is that from leaving NATO in general for United States?
I don't believe that this administration or any administration is going to leave NATO. Yes, there have been a lot of efforts on many times over many years to have the European nations, the European members of NATO, to boost their own defense. That's important. And it turns
Absolutely.
out, Henry, they're now doing that. They are now doing that. They are not only, they're doing it in two ways. They are organizing themselves into some kind of a European force, maybe within NATO. But they're also taking the next step, an important step, finding the money. They are looking for ways that they can actually fund this increase in their defense, increase in their European forces. They're even talking about a European force to be deployed in Ukraine if the Ukrainian government invites it to monitor and enforce a ceasefire. So the Europeans are stepping up, and I don't think I think that's a good thing for NATO, and I think this administration will recognize the European efforts and will support it.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least Europe is capable to do that, that's for sure, but $27 trillion economy, so hopefully. Just the last question. I just recently asked it to John Herbst, to your dear colleague, and maybe you know him. Obviously, you know him. So the question is, if you would ever have a chance to advise something, anything, to President Trump, and you would know definitely that he will follow for this advice, what this advice could have been.
First of all, I know John Herbst very well. I'm now associated with his Atlantic Council. I'm no longer associated with the Institute of Peace. But if I were able to give advice to President Trump, I would say support Ukraine until it wins. And winning means what I said in the beginning, that is a democratic, independent, sovereign, prosperous, secure nation on its way to the European Union. And I would even say to President Trump that in the end, Ukraine ought to be in NATO.
Thank you so very much for your time. And again, I will say again what I just said to Mr. Herbst. Amen to that. I mean, 2 ambassadors of the United States just confirmed that. So it should go up there. Thank you so very much, sir, for your time and for your experience. And I hope we can do it sometime again. Nice. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Let's do it, Henry. I look forward to doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.